Welcome to the First Congregational United Church of Christ in Alpena, Michigan. We are in Barksdale Chapel, a small chapel off the side of our general sanctuary. This was named in thanksgiving for the ministry of the Reverend Robert Barksdale and his wife Madge Barksdale, who served here from 1947 until 1972. In 1974, 2 years later, when Jack Fitzgerald was the minister here, I was the Sunday school teacher for the second grade class. So if you have any of your relatives who in 1974 would have been in second grade, one of the people comes to my mind is Sylvia Pfeifenberger. If you are in that cohort, you may recognize yourself in what we're going to see today. It's a Holy Week slideshow. Yes, slideshow, an old-fashioned technology. And to let you see what that means, for those of you who have not seen that kind of technology lately, there's a projector with slides that I took in 1974 at Rockport. Now, Rockport today is a state recreation area. Back then, it was just unknown to most people, but those of us that knew there were ruins out there, we go to that place, Rockport, while the buildings were still there. And our second grade class are going to present for us their version of a Holy Week play. We began by just saying there were a lot of people. Jesus had made quite a reputation for himself, and they weren't sure what to make of him. Some of them thought he was a problem. Other people thought he was wonderful. He had gathered a number of people as his followers. And those disciples had been with Jesus for more than a year. They are now arriving in Jerusalem, and they've got plans. They're going to take the place by storm. They've arranged for a parade. And yes, they're looking. Here comes Jesus now, riding on a donkey of sorts. Of course, we had to make that as a costume. So here we are arriving on Palm Sunday. Jesus was cheered by the crowds, met by the strangers. It was quite a to-do. As you can see Rockport in the background there, just as incidental. So here we are riding into town. The people were cheering, saying, "Hosanna, here's the King of Israel," celebrating his arrival. Other people, though, were complaining about it. They should quiet down. They're making too much trouble. If you see in the background here, beside the big Rockport building, which has been destroyed, you'll see the chief priests were really concerned. They did not like this parade. They didn't like people calling him a king. They thought it would cause trouble with Rome. So the chief priests gathered together with some of the guards, and they made plans of how to stop him. As the group continued that week, they had communion together, they had a lot of teachings in the town, and there were healings, numerous activities we told about when we did this originally. One of the folks got a hold of Judas and said, "Would you be able to betray him? We'll give you some money if you do." And so he went to the chief priest and made an arrangement of what they were going to do. And that night, Jesus had supper with his disciples, and at that point, Judas left the group as they continued out into the Garden of Gethsemane. He went to tell the chief priests where they were going to be. Again, you can see the Rockport building in the background. Jesus went to the Garden of Gethsemane, and he said his heart was troubled. So would they please stay with him and while he prayed, because he knew that night serious things were going to happen. Jesus prayed in the garden. He said, "Father, if it's possible, take this cup from me, but not as I will, but thy will be done." When Jesus came back, he found his disciples sleeping. They could not stay awake with him. 3 times he woke them, told them to stay awake, asked them to pray. 3 times they failed and fell asleep. Finally, he woke them up and said, "Okay, it's too late now. Here come the folks. They're going to arrest me." So they come with swords and pitchforks and woke them up. And Judas had made an arrangement. He said, "The one I kiss is the one you are to arrest." And so he went promptly up to Jesus, kissed him, and right away the guards knew who to get. All the disciples ran away in fear. They brought him first to the trial by the priest, but then to Pontius Pilate. Pilate sitting in the big throne room. He put them before, here's Jesus, what shall we do with him? And they shouted, crucify him, crucify him, crucify him. Pilate continued to interview and said, I find no fault with this person, but I will release to you someone. Who would you like to have? And they said, give us Barabbas. Well, what shall I do with Jesus? Crucify him, crucify him. And Pilate said, you may have him. I washed my hands of the whole thing. So then they took Jesus out along with 2 other criminals and put them on crosses on Golgotha, the place of the skull. And there they crucified him. That's the story of Good Friday. And when we told this originally in the church showing the slide program, we told more of the story. But there we have it. At Rockport, Michigan, now a state recreation area, our 2nd graders are telling the story. And Jesus ends up on the cross. And we tell the story to this day. Well, thanks for coming along with me on this retrospective, retro technology memory lane, 1974. I hope you enjoyed it.